gentlemen, I request you to please start settling down. We're about to start the first knowledge session of the 9th India Defence Conclave. Now you're making me conscious. I request all of you to please start settling down, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to start the first knowledge session of the 9th edition of the India Defence Conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start the first knowledge session, Future Roadmap in Atmanirbharta in Defense. I request all of you to please settle down. एजेंडा देखो नितिन ना I'm looking for the moderator of the first session, Mr. Nitin A. Gokhale. He's outside? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if my voice is reaching the kiosk area, requesting all of you to please start settling down. Let's start the first knowledge session. Future Roadmap in Atmanirbharta in Defense. This session is going to look at the next 5 years for the Indian defense sector. What are the objectives? How can Indian defense ecosystem help the MOD and armed forces to meet them? And how is the military encouraging local solutions through constant engagement and outreach? This is what the first knowledge session, Future Roadmap in Atmanirbharta in Defense, is going to talk about. For the keynote address, I would like to call upon Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan, Deputy Chief of IDS, PP and FD. His profile should be flashing on the screen. And in addition to that, he was the Deputy Commandant and Chief Instructor at National Defense Academy and Chief of Staff, Eastern Naval Command. Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan, Deputy Chief of IDS, PP and FD, will deliver the keynote address for the session, Future Roadmap in Atmanirbharta in Defense. Sir, I invite you to the podium.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And at the very outset, I thank Bharat Shakti for inviting me to share my thoughts on the future roadmap of the armed forces to achieve Atmanirbharta in this 9th edition of the Defense Conclave, a forum that provides a platform to bring together policymakers, senior military officers, government officials, academia, think tanks, foreign industry representatives and leaders from the public and the private industry to explore our pursuit of achieving self-reliance, or what we call Atmanirbharta in defense. I really will not do a geopolitical scan over here, and it goes without saying that Atmanirbharta, or self-reliance in defense, research and development, design and manufacturing is a strategic necessity today. Contemporary military and geopolitical events have exposed the vulnerability of the global supply chains, thereby reinforcing India's focus for the last 5 to 7 years in building indigenous capabilities and capacities. Our imported supply chains cannot be taken for granted anymore, and therefore we need to accelerate the process of indigenization to meet our security challenges. Presently, a significant portion of our existing legacy defense equipment has been imported, and in today's era, it is difficult to win a war which may not be short and swift with imported weapon systems and platforms. I will now highlight the collective efforts of the Government of India and all stakeholders which have contributed towards achieving Atmanirbharta till now and in future. The Defense Acquisition Procedure, or the DAP 2020, has been regularly refined since its promulgation about 4 years ago to reflect the aspirations of an increasingly assertive indigenous defense industry. It prioritizes acquisition of indigenously designed, developed and manufactured IDDM products, as was alluded to by Mr. Patil a couple of hours ago, under the Make in India, and offers simplified procedures for Make, IDEX, TDF and various other routes that we have charted. The Defense Production and Export Promotion Policy of 2020 has been designed to provide a focused, structured and significant thrust to the defense production capabilities and act as a catalyst for exports. The technology transfer from DRDO to defense industry is being fast-tracked, and the mission Raksha Gyan Shakti is encouraging the development of Indian IPR ecosystem and opening up of government test laboratories for Indian industries. The defense R&D and innovation space has been considerably strengthened through substantial increase in the funding of IDEX, IDEX Prime and Aditi and TDF, of course. One of the most significant and transformative measures has been the declaration of positive indigenization lists. Since 2018, 5 PILs have been promulgated, comprising of 509 items, which cover the period up to December 2032. The total value of the AON or contracts till now is about 1,64,000 crore rupees and is expected to generate business of more than 10 lakh crore rupees in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's the volume of business that we are looking at only from this particular segment. An online web portal, Srijan, has been created to meet the sustenance requirements of the armed forces. So one is the procurement of new equipment. The second one is to sustain the existing equipment, our legacy equipment, the imported equipment. So this Srijan portal has got avenues for indigenization and innovation of all high-value complex items or spares through the domestic industry. Certain items that we are not getting from our foreign suppliers due to obsolescence, due to restrictions in supply chains, or whatever they may be. So we are now encouraging the Indian industry to provide us the requisite solutions so that we can continue to operate and maintain and sustain our existing weapon systems. In this portal, more than 36,000 items have been uploaded on the internet. Value more than 100,000 crores. So the Defense Procurement Manual, which pertains to sustenance, that is the revenue expenditure as far as the armed forces are concerned, is also being revived, and we are expecting that it should be promulgated very soon, which will further give us the leverage to go to the Indian defense industry and facilitate maintenance of our equipment and systems in a more easier manner than what it is today. Besides carrying out internal transformation to facilitate a more robust interaction with private companies, the services also, that is the Army, Navy and the Air Force, have reached out to the academia for R&D, wherein cells have been established with the IITs and the Indian Institute of Science. 50 products have already been patented by services themselves, personnel of the services, of which 7 have been commercialized. An MOU has been signed with the Council of Scientific Indian Research, CSIR, and we are very hopeful to conclude a MOU with the Department of Science and Technology by end of this month. So what has been the effect of all these policy level measures? And therefore, I will now come down to the results that we have seen in the last 4 years, wherein 161 contracts have been concluded amounting to more than 3 lakh crore rupees, of which the Indian participation is a staggering 92%. So clearly the results are on ground. Of the 137 projects of Indian vendors, the private sector has been awarded 55 contracts or 35%, which is about 3% 3 to 4 years before that, of which 22 are MSMEs. We are engaging with more than 14,000 MSMEs and more than 350 startups, and the number is growing every day. Under the make category itself, the services are actually pursuing 151 products through co-development with the Indian industry, including MSMEs and startups. Then there is the IDEX scheme, and out of the 404 challenges that have been thrown open, 372 contracts have already been concluded for prototype development. AON has been granted out of these for 37 projects, and 23 contracts have already been concluded in the last 2 years, and more are in the pipeline as we speak. 78 TDF projects are in place, which is being steered by the DRDO, and 27 technologies under 10 products have been successfully developed. We have identified major foreign dependent items, equipment systems such as ammunition and armaments, radars, tanks, etc., and have prepared a comprehensive roadmap for time-bound Indianization, which are being monitored at the highest level. There has been an improvement in the capital domestic procurement in financial year 21-22, which was at 64%. Last financial year, it was 68%, and this financial year, the Government of India has given a directive that the entire capital budget of 1,72,000 crores, 75% is to be given to the Indian industry. So that's the volume of business that we are looking at for the Indian industry over here, ladies and gentlemen. Further, 25% of the R&D budget has been earmarked for domestic industry, startups, innovators. So if I take a 10% year-on-year average growth of the Indian armed forces, just the capital budget, I am not saying it's a very conservative, but definitely 10% if I take, then till about 2029-30, on an average every year we'll get about 1.7 lakh crores of business for the Indian industry, amounting to almost 8 lakh crores of business in the next 5 to 6 years. Similarly, on the revenue front, we've got about 6 lakh crores of business that could be coming to the Indian industry for sustenance of the armed forces equipment and legacy systems that we've got or we will be having now onwards. So that's the volume of money that is lying, or the business that is lying in front of you, 14 to 15 lakh crores, ladies and gentlemen. The industry needs to come up and partake in that. As I had said earlier, in financial 2000, last year in fact, for the second year in a row, our defense production has gone up to more than 1 lakh crores per year, out of which 20% was by the private industry, which was also alluded to by Mr. Patil, and we expect it and we will prefer that it goes up much beyond that in the years to come. So, as I said, 14,000 MSMEs, more than 350 startups, there's a lot happening out there. We all need to connect the dots and ensure that each other connects with everybody, and we can have an ecosystem which is giving us the latest of the equipment that is available with the most current or probably futuristic technology that we can have. Now coming back to the main agenda, which is the future roadmap as far as Atmanirbharta is concerned. So I'd like to highlight some key aspects as far as the future roadmap is concerned. To achieve the objectives of the joint capability development at HQIDS, we have an integrated capability development system framework that is being worked upon, along with a TPCR, or the Technology Perspective and Capability Roadmap. The TPCR will provide the industry an overview of the direction in which the armed forces intend to head in terms of capability over the next 15 years. ICADs will enhance the collaborative planning, integration, and jointness, besides enhancing the share of indigenized equipment. The DAP 2020 and DPM 09 are the governing documents for capital and revenue procurements. As procurement is the end result of any indigenization, innovation effort, these documents will play an important role in self-reliance. While it is true that they have provided the much needed impetus to the indigenization and innovation in the defense sector, it also cannot be denied that we still have issues such as long processing times, time overruns, procedural issues, etc., which results in capability gap and create obsolescence issues for us. Hence, the current provisions need to be amended and made more nimble and well aligned to the spirit of Atmanirbharta to suit and encourage participations of MSMEs, small industries, startup, private sector, and provide, more importantly, a level playing field to all. We have started the work towards this. The defense industrial corridors offer a major opportunity to boost our defense manufacturing capability, and the way these DICs are shaping up in future will define our overall defense industry ecosystem. Therefore, the long-term perspective needs to be taken for the DICs. Some of the aspects which need to be accelerated are domain-centric defense corridors, such as ammunition, tanks, aircraft. They could be all well spread out in separate sectors. Additional DIC nodes, world-class MRO hubs in the DICs, R&D setup, and state-of-art trial and testing facilities as part of the defense testing infrastructure scheme, so that we can enhance the private sector participation by providing these incentives. However, in order to catch up and gain lead in the technology curve vis-a-vis other advanced nations, a fine balance needs to be maintained wherein the drive for Atmanirbharta must not compromise the current operational readiness of the three services. Towards this, our industry should continue to explore avenues to tie up with foreign partners and establish JVs, PPPs, and MROs to build up an ecosystem like witnessed in the automobile sector about 20 to 30 years ago. The import substitution in the defense sector involves replacing imported components, systems, or platforms with domestically produced alternatives. This strategy is essentially for reducing vulnerabilities arising from the reliance on foreign suppliers, address obsolescence issues, and sustain our legacy equipment till the end of their life. A big opportunity is there for the industry, but we need to identify and ensure that the IC content that is being quoted is actually the IC content that is there, and also increase the level of IC content in future in the products that are coming to us. So if somebody says, I've got 60% indigenization content, we would like to see in the next 2 to 3 years the item that is coming out automatically from the industry goes to 70, 75, rather than the armed forces or the government of India asking you that please raise it. It should come voluntary from the industry. You should not set down in a gear in neutral and just carry on that, yes, I have achieved 60% and there's nothing more to achieve. We expect this from the industry. Handholding of private industry in defense R&D will accrue exponential results. We firmly believe that. Given the sheer size of the armed forces and the diverse range of our equipment, we need to develop. The involvement of the private sector augurs well for our capacity augmentation. We are convinced that emergence of the private sector in design, development, and manufacture of defense equipment would usher in a healthy competition, joint ventures, and PPPs. Hence, apart from IDEX, TDF, and Aditi scheme, etc., multiple funding mechanisms have been created to foster innovation and technology development to encourage the private industry to invest in R&D in this sector. As new technologies such as quantum, AI, cyberspace, hypersonic, autonomous, IoT, biotics, etc. are rapidly evolving. In fact, weaponization of everything as we are seeing recently, we should not be able to get into a tail chase as we have been till now. Therefore, our defense industry needs to step up and graduate to a level where the Indian defense products provide contemporary solutions. We need a more dynamic and think-ahead approach and direct R&D efforts to cater for the future requirements of a tech-driven battlefield, looking forward at least 10 years in advance. The broad roadmap, therefore, would be that while there are very few niche and cutting-edge technologies which could remain outside our boundary of indigenization and innovation in the near term, with collective efforts of all stakeholders, we should endeavor to achieve self-reliance in defense as follows. In the short term, that is by 2030, indigenization of all items with partial import dependence. By 2035, that is midterm, indigenization of critical components which are currently being imported, and long-term design and development production of niche equipment with frontier technologies, that is by between 2035 and 40. So to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, recent geopolitical uncertainties have underscored the need for Atmanirbharta more than ever before. Technology is driving all elements of national security today. There is no denying this fact, and not only for India, for every country in the world. The challenges to India's security are multifarious, alive, here and present, across the entire spectrum of warfare in the continental, maritime, space and cyber domains. Atmanirbharta is neither a substitution strategy nor manufacturing capabilities. It is a bottom-up approach from conceptualizing to design, development and production. The Government of India's commitment to indigenization and self-reliance is expected to lead significant opportunity growth in the Indian defense sector in the years to come, and there is an opportunity for all of you to become active bhagidars or participants with immense business potential. You need to proactively move forward so that we as a nation not only transform our defense industry and achieve strategic and technological self-sufficiency in defense to fight our wars in our environment with our systems and equipment through affordable solutions, and also we make for the world. I extend my best wishes and success to the India Defence Conclave. Thank you very much once again. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Admiral Vatsayan. I believe you'll be seated in the audience while the panelists continue with the session on future roadmap in Atmanirbharta in defense. I request our panelists to please come up on stage one by one, and as they do, their profiles are going to be flashed on the screen. Air Vice Marshal George Thomas, Assistant Chief of Air Staff, Plans, Air Headquarters. Major General C.S. Mann, Additional Director General, Army Design Bureau, Indian Army. And Mr. Ashok Atluri, Chairman and Managing Director, Zen Technologies. The moderator for this session is Nitin Gokhale, Founder and Editor-in-Chief of BharatShakti.in. Can I have a round of applause for the panel? I hand over the session to Nitin.
Thank you, Nilanjana, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient. We are slightly behind time, but I'm sure we'll make it up as we go, because the fare that is on offer throughout the day now, rest of the day, is intellectually stimulating and full of information for everyone who's in this room. So let me begin by saying that this session, I wanted three main topics to be addressed, or at least seek answers from the experts here. Looking at the next 5 years for the Indian defense sector, what are the highlights that they think? What are the objectives that they are setting for themselves in the armed forces? And what is it that the local defense industry can contribute or is looking at in terms of policy encouragement or policy enablement? That's what we'll answer these questions as we go along. But let me start with AVM George Thomas. We often talk about long gestation period for aerospace products or platforms. How are you looking at, and you've been a test pilot yourself, I think the most rigorous and delicate test happens for aerospace platforms at the AST and the SDI. how are you looking at enhancing the capability for the Indian industry? How do you encourage them, and how do you look at the coming 5 years?
Thank you, Nitin. It's a privilege to be here, my very distinguished and accomplished co-panelists, and of course, Admiral Vatsayan's talk set the stage for what we are going to discuss today. Let me address the question directly. So basically, I think Admiral Vatsayan laid out the combined or the joint intent for the next 5 years in the way we would, continue to increase the degree of self-reliance. But as you've pointed out, there is a slight peculiarity in the aerospace sector, especially in the military aerospace sector. And as we seek to increase the both the localization, that is the self-reliance in this sector, as well as private sector participation, there are certain constraints which we come up against, which I will just try and briefly touch upon. We can maybe discuss further in questions. So the first is the military aerospace sector is unique in having certain qualities. There are very low compared to, let's say, someone like the Army who can buy very large numbers. There are very low MOQs available. The cost of D&D and the time frames are often very long and very deeply involved. And there is an aspect of certification and qualification leading to flight test, which is extremely rigorous. This tends to scare off many players who are new to the sector. And the Indian Air Force is not new to Atmanirbhar. Our first aeroplane, surprisingly, I don't know if you're aware, is an Indian Air Force aeroplane, designed, developed in Kanpur, called the Kanpur 1.
Right.
Designed by Air Marshal Harjinder Singh. We flew it in 1958. The first Avro built in India was built by the Indian Air Force. Thereafter, of course, the Marut, the HT2, many projects. To give you a quick snapshot of have we invested in this sector? Yes, we have. From the Tejas 220 on order, the Mark II, the AMCA, the Air Force itself has pumped in roughly about 120,000 crore into this sector. So it should have beefed it up, yes. In the rotary wing, it's about 69,000 crores with various projects. But the thing is, all these have been focused hitherto at the government sector, at the public sector. So whether it is DRDO, ADA, whether it is HAL, the development of the aircraft industry has mainly focused on the public sector. The private sector has started opening up now, and they are beginning to come in. So our roadmap, to directly answer your question, how do we handle these challenges? We are doing a two-pronged approach. Through Make and IDEX, we are starting with weapons, we are starting with heavy drones, we are starting with EW, with aspects of which contribute to a system on system. For players in the private sector to come in, to contribute there, and we are supporting them with about 60, 50 projects in Make and IDEX each. And as far as platforms go, or system of systems go, we expect that in the next 5 years, with 2 or 3 major platforms which are coming in, we will see a collaborative venture, as the Admiral brought out, through JVs or through PPP, even with the public and private sector, to manufacture the AMCA, to manufacture the medium transport aircraft which will come, and probably take on a much larger share of subsystem manufacturing for the LCA Mark II. We hope to see the private sector come in a big way.
That's a good way to start, actually. That brings me to the private sector. You've been a proponent of IDDM, a great supporter of IDDM, and somebody who believes that IDDM is the way forward, because if India has to become self-reliant. What is it that you expect from in government policies, one, and two, what is it that the private sector needs to do more in terms of contributing to this effort at self-reliance or Atmanirbharta?
Thanks, Nitin. 9th edition. Congratulations for that, and been always your supporter and admire what you have done till now. So coming back to what the private sector can do in this is, the game plan typically is, if you want to create a deep technology product, it requires a long enough duration for R&D. And I think private sectors are very well placed to do the R&D. So there are two things. One was the cost plus approach that was earlier there, that has changed now. Now they want it to be competitive. And, for many years, people, if we developed something cutting edge and we had to have patent for that, and we won a tender, they would say, guy, you are the only guy, so we'll have to go for a tender again. And then they would dilute the specs to get more. And it would go for retender, they would dilute it further. So there was a system, bureaucratic system that would punish innovation, not reward. So only, we have been talking about this IDDM since 2005. It was only in 2015 that Mr. Parikar said he just clicked it. In fact, within the industry also we were laughed at when we said IDDM. They used to say, "Pehle chalna seekar, manufacturing, baad mein udne ki baat karna, IP development."
Yeah, just for our DA friends, what he says is before you start running, learn to walk.
Yeah.
Is what he is saying.
So the point was that, you're being so ambitious. Then we would say, listen, guys, we have already applied for patent, we have developed, and so then the question was, do you want to modify it for only for Zen, the whole policy kind of thing? But Mr. Parikar said, this is where the industry should go, and he was able to introduce that IDDM category. And the second thing with this IDDM category is, invariably, there will be a maximum of 2, but in majority of the cases, there will be only 1 vendor. Now imagine there is only 1 buyer for that product. And you are expecting there should be 2 or 3 vendors. It's absolutely unfair. So that might, in fact, the IDDM has the provision of single vendor, but that's not fully imbibed at this point in time in the armed forces.
In the implementation stage.
In the implementation thing. So this is one thing where they should say, listen, we don't mind going with this 1 vendor, and they should go a step ahead. So this is a 180-degree turn, and they should say, listen, we are pushing them to be the global champions. Now, many times what happens is, when the cost of the products are reasonably low, because all technology products, the cost is in the R&D. So what happens, typically they try to negotiate. But if you negotiate too much, that impairs the capability of a company to do the long-term R&D. And the R&D that we do out of the 10 projects, we have only 2 or 3 that work actually.
So perhaps the benchmarking has to be a little more realistic?
Yeah, benchmarking has to be realistic and it has to be liberal. I think, the point is, let us say they make a ton of money, but what are they going to, if it's an R&D company, these guys are big fools because they are going to reinvest the whole money into R&D. And they are going to pay the taxes on that. Everything will be very clear. So, and especially it is within the country. The fact is that money is remaining within the country and it's our own currency. So I think if we go in this direction, where where we think not them as one single monopolistic situation, but rather can we make global champions out of them? That is something that we'll go in the right direction. And I think even Make 2, these kind of Make 2 is again another initiative in which all the industry was saying we would, instead of 80%, we want 90% funding. But we went and said, listen, SMEs can build the product but can't do your paperwork. And Mr. Parikar said, okay, fine, let's have Make 2, where you will get the orders when you make the product. So I think, yeah, overall, I think it has been that. And again, for Zen, we have been doing R&D. We have applied about 155 global patents and Indian patents. We have been granted 75 patents till now. And in army simulators, we are #1 in the world without any category. And 2018, when we wanted to get into anti-drone system, our thinking was this: can we become a global leader in this in 5 to 6 years? And we felt that we could, and we really focused on doing R&D, and we wanted to launch in 22, 23, but 21 Indian Air Force tender came, and we participated. We won the bid. We supplied a lot of customization. But today, when you have worked with because again, the Indian Air Force has actually handheld us to the thing. Today, our team went to do survey of competition in Eurosatory, Paris, and when they came back, they said, we are on the top. We absolutely like, and only thing probably lacking is the aesthetic look. Let us work on that. That's always the complaint.
That's good to know. So that's a success story. General Man, you just come back from Leh, where you had a droneathon, if I am not mistaken, at Him droneathon in high altitude, and you were testing Indian products, Indian companies. So, ADB, the Army Design Bureau, has been in existence for now a good 7 years, I think. And it has helped the industry to get access to the Army's desires or planning or whatever you call problem statements. What has been your experience so far, and what do you see in the next, say, couple of years, what the industry and the Army can work together? How are you working together in this space?
Okay. At the outset, Mr. Conclave, I must compliment you for having organized this event and actually curated it very well, the entire spectrum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, Army Design Bureau is concerned. Army Design Bureau is supposed to be a single point agency of the Indian Army for interaction with the industry, the academia, the R&D establishments. And that's where our role comes in, and we've been, like you mentioned very rightfully, officially on December 16 is when ADB was launched, on 5th of December, so we are going to be completing almost 8 years now. The experience, so far as concerned about the interaction with the industry, is actually very, very encouraging. And what we have seen is that, now at present we are in a stage, because of the enabling policies of the government, so much of push being given to Atmanirbharta, and the capabilities, of course, which are there in our country. There's a wide spectrum of, I'll say, from individuals to industry, who are ready to actually participate in this entire development process as part of this Atmanirbharta. And if I have to actually group them, I'll group them into 4 different categories. There is a category of individuals or startups who want to do, who say, sir, I am qualified in so-and-so technology. I want to do something for the defense services, but I don't know what to do. You please tell me. They want that kind of category. Just don't know anything. What should be done, but they want to do. The second category is that wherein they have some technology, but they really don't know whether this technology will find its use case with the army or not. And then, say the third lot is those who have reached some stage of, say, that technology and some kind of a use case, but again don't know whether it will find use with us or not. And the fourth one, who have been into it for last few years, who are experienced and maybe say who have employed some of our veterans, because of which they are aware of the kind of requirements, so they are able to actually come up with a product and offer it for NCNC demonstrations to us. These are 4 different levels, and we deal with all of them. We encourage right from the one who says, I'm qualified in so-and-so, I don't know what to do. Right from, that stage onwards, we guide everyone. And what we have been also doing is also, now because there's quite a change in our approach as such. Earlier, at least within the army, we used to look at only the equipment, the platform, the end product as such. How it is coming, from where it is coming, was immaterial. Right. We wanted the equipment.
Yes.
But whereas now, having experience, especially in this last about 3-4 years, with the ongoing wars, the supply chain disruptions, the necessity of this Atmanirbharta, and right down to that each and every component being indigenous, I think needs no emphasis. We all have learnt it. So therefore, now we are not looking at only the platform-centric or the equipment-centric projects as such. We are going right down to each and every component level of it and initiating the various R&D or the D&D projects for that. For example, just to give you one example, even in Make 1, while we are going for the light tank, we are going for the FRCV, that futuristic ready combat vehicle. We have also initiated a case for 1350 horsepower engine for the tanks, because that is not existing as of today in the country. So again through Make 1. Now similarly, there are many other small R&D related projects which we are primarily dealing with academia.
Right.
As of today, we have about 62 projects with academia, both private and government, and a few of them even with some startups also, worth about nearly 250 crores, engaging about 34 odd different academic institutes in that. So the aim is that the entire ecosystem gets developed in each and every, we are not dependent on for anything, because we have experienced this, especially say in Make 2. In Make 2, we have reached a stage out of 45 cases where 2 already contracted, but in 14 others where the prototype development has got completed. And now we are in the stage of issuing RFP or in the trial stage. But the major issue which is now coming up is about the IPR. We're supposed to be IDDM. So the IPR, design IPR should be with us. Now that's where the problem is coming up. Because some of those, rather most of those have been done with the help of the foreign OEMs as a result of JVs and all, but probably IPR has not been catered in that manner. Right. That is something we really need to look at, that IPR, when we are going in for the JVs and all, or for the TOTs with the foreign OEM, IPR must be catered right from the beginning. So where now prototypes have got developed, but we are getting stuck now, we're not able to move ahead because of the not having the IPRs. And apart from this, how we've been actually trying to assist the industry is like what you mentioned, issuing the, releasing the compendium of problem definition statements. Last one we released was in February 23. And I must tell you that we had, it contained 110 problem statements across 18 different technology domains, right from AI, blockchain, quantum, and say habitat, even materials, say even armament, ammunition, everything. And we received good about 550 responses. 45% from the academia and 55% from the industry. As a result of that, 54 different R&D, D&D cases have already been initiated. In 17 cases, we got the product from some of them for NCNC demonstration.
Right.
And the balance are also under consideration. While about for 9-10 of them, we have still not been able to get the kind of solution we are looking at.
Okay.
So they might now get, say, carried over to the next compendium, which we are planning to release maybe within a few months now.
So this process is actually two-way, in the sense you give out problem statements, they give you a solution, then you test it, and then they come back to you with better or tweaked products, I suppose.
This part is only applicable wherever they're able to offer us the equipment for NCNC.
That's right.
Demonstration.
Only
Only
NCNC is no cost, no commitment.
No cost, no commitment. But like I said, 54 cases where they don't have any solution ready.
Okay.
It's only on paper.
Right.
They give us a solution on paper, they want some funding. So that is where we have initiated those R&D projects, utilizing all these existing provisions, including primarily from the Army Technology Board.
Right.
Wherein we have initiated those R&D cases, which will take about anything from 1 to 2 years on the, basically milestone-based payment to them,
Right.
and going through this development process. So that's how we are assisting the ecosystem by actually funding them, not that they have to actually come up with the product themselves.
And then you may not know, they don't know whether it will be taken, not taken, that's why.
Yeah,
you're
correct.
giving them
And I mean, we are ready to accept failures in that. Being R&D, yes, there may be some failures in that.
Right.
But unless we start giving this opportunity to the ecosystem to actually start experimenting, to start actually, say initiate themselves into it,
Right.
the ecosystem will not come up.
Okay.
And that's what our intent is.
Got that. So, ABM Thomas, taking cue from General Mann, even Air Force has gotten a new department, I think, DAD it's called?
That's correct.
Department of Aerospace Development. Design, Aerospace Design. What has been your experience in the last 1.5 years or so on that? And how are you encouraging smaller companies to give you solutions, not for platforms like you said, but also for components and otherwise?
So we have a structure which is slightly different from ADB, but along similar lines. So the DAD is in 3 parts. We have a headquartered in the Air Force headquarters, we have the main directorate, and we have 2 what we call RAIDs. They are regional centers, which are situated currently in Bangalore and in Ahmedabad to connect to the corridors. Bangalore, since aerospace is of course paramount for us, and Ahmedabad is emerging very quickly as a tech hub. So we follow pretty much the same concept, and I will just expand on what General Mann has said, plus I'll address one of the points that Ashok mentioned. So in the smaller or let's say the MSME and startup ecosystem, he alluded to the types of people who come, and there are many people who have ideas or who have technologies in making but do not have the funding or the resources, or do not have adequate knowledge of the use case and the environment in which we operate to be able to convert to a product. So we do it both ways. We also float problem statements. We also receive suo moto, requests from people who sort of run that idea past DAD to say, does this make sense? Will this be of use for you? Can we partner with you? So we do that. We have several cases going on which are suo moto. We do it either through R&D funding integral to the service, or we do it through the IDEX for smaller MSMEs, etc. We have partnered several, and they are in diverse regimes. Like he's brought out, we are looking at air launching a 250 kg weapon, all the way down to a spray which can quickly replace burnt skin. you know, for an accident or for an aircraft crash if you have to handle it. So it's all across the piece. To address one of the issues which Ashok had said, which is, you know, how do we get co-funding from the government? How does someone take that risk? And how do we come single vendor? Which was his essential problem.
Exactly.
I have this brilliant idea. It is my IP. It is Indian.
Right.
But if I come to you based on the general rules of finance, you will say, no, no, come for competition and dial it down. So actually, IDEX has sorted out a lot of that to a very large extent.
Sure.
In IDEX, we can go. There is a very set process in which selection happens, and the person goes ahead, and we support with single vendor. It also handles part of what General Man referred to as the problem of D&D risk. There is risk element on both sides. There is an element on the part of the entrepreneur who is worried about his investment getting sunk. In make, like he said, you can go all the way up to prototype.
Right.
But, and the MOQ is assured by the service. But if you are not selected, then you don't get the contract.
Yeah, that's one of the complaints.
It's one of the issues in make 2. In make 1, at least you get your funding.
Correct.
But in IDEX, you can go all the way, and we are willing to take the risk of the money getting sunk because of technical reasons it didn't go through.
Right.
And we are taking an opportunity cost of the capability not being fielded with the service.
Sure.
So this is being handled smaller. When you scale it up, actually in the DAP, and the Admiral mentioned that we are looking at the next, you know, how do we take it up, which Mr. Patil also said that 2025 DAP is what we are looking at. Many provisions have come. One of them will be to sort of extend Chapter 4, which is our D&D in the public sector, which is with DRDO especially, or with the DPSUs.
Right.
How do we extend that level of faith in one single vendor, take the D&D risk for larger platforms, for systems of systems? How do we get that on board is one of the things which is occupying us in reframing policy.
Sure.
Once we crack that for big systems, and this ecosystem is already blossoming for the smaller, the two will merge, in my opinion, and in the next 5 years, we should be able to see the entire spectrum start delivering results.
That's
There
good.
is absolutely no dearth of enthusiasm.
Sure.
There is, to my mind, no dearth of funding. One is the mindset change, which to my mind has happened. And the second is the tweaking of the policy initiatives to make sure that sort of everybody wins is probably the last step in the puzzle which we need to solve.
I'm sure this will happen soon. Ashok, to you now. Both of them have mentioned how the mindsets have changed, and you are also part of that system. When you look back, say 10 to 15 years, the mindset has certainly changed. What one or 2 points you tell me what the government needs to do more apart from the tweaking the DAP or amending the DAP? What about funding from venture capitalists or funding from private equity? Is there enough confidence in the defense industry amongst the financial institutions or investors?
Few years back, defense sector was a no-no for investment, and we have been listed forever. And recently, we went to raise 1,000 crores of funds, and we got a demand for 5,500 crores.
They wanted to invest
5,500 crores, but we had only 1,000 crores. So it's a complete 180 degrees change. What this government has done is make the almost orphan child as the most darling child, and everybody wants to get into the bandwagon. So I think even in the small and medium sector, if people are really clued in, they can raise the money very easily. So funding has become very, very easy at this. In fact, too easy perhaps. So the point here is how do we get, again in the startup world, I want to become, if I'm a startup, I want to become a unicorn in 3 months, or maybe maximum 3 years. But we have taken 30 years to do. And it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So the mindset of the startups and new companies that there is a short-term success. Again, when you sell, you need to support the product for the next 10 or 15 years.
Sustenance is the key.
So that mentality has to change. I think we should get better quality people who are trained to do longer R&D and create products, rather than, we see a lot of people who are just getting some product from somewhere, trying to push it with no agenda and like, he was saying 60% becomes the target. How do I cross 60% with no intention of doing 100%?
Right.
But there are companies, actually, I think you should really look, the men behind the company, are they really interested in doing long-term R&D, and are they actually trying to evolve the product, even if they have got it from somewhere? In fact, Zen doesn't have that experience of getting other product. We have everything we develop ground up. So if they develop, they should be able to absorb the technology and evolve to the next level.
Yeah.
So that should be
I think that should be the
but
key.
that assessment, I don't, it's a very subjective assessment. So, you really can't put it in
No,
paper.
you can't expect everyone to do that, that's for sure. Gentleman, to you, and I think this is my final question in the panel. ADB has delivered in this 7-8 years, so has DAD, there is NIIO in the Navy. So, all these agencies are working overnight, burning the midnight oil for all this. What are the next steps you would think the army would look at? Would you want a kind of roadmap given to them that, look, this is what we want in the next 5 years, like you've done with the light tank? Are you giving them some targets? Are you giving them some products that you desire? How is it going to work as far as the industry is concerned?
Okay. Like what was mentioned by Admiral Vatsayan also, so far as that what we are looking at in future is going to be in the terms of TPCR, Technology Perspective Capability Roadmap, which is expected to be coming out very soon, because last one was in 2018, and the next one is supposed to be coming out very soon. So that's the one which actually broadly gives out the entire, the kind of platforms, the kind of equipment, weapon systems we are looking at. And also in that we have included even a list of some of the technologies also, so that the industry gets a visibility and the academia to start working on those kind of technologies, not specific use cases or the equipment, but the technologies as such. So that is one. The second thing is that now, like I mentioned, say with the kind of enthusiasm and all, and the way the entire industry is growing, what we are doing is we are having our extensions, our outreach. So we already have 2 regional technology nodes, one in Pune and one in Bangalore. Now we are thinking of even having some more. Okay. So that proposal is already under consideration. So that it's not that everyone has to come to Delhi and contact us and then we only handle everything. So that we
You're
start
decentralizing
and then in a way act as a hub and a spoke model. We are the hub and they are the spokes for us.
Right.
Similarly, Indian Army cells in the academia, to capitalize on that, we have already opened 3 of them. One in IIT Delhi, second in IIT Kanpur, and third in IISc Bangalore.
Right.
We're looking at least about 4 to 5 more within this year.
Okay.
And that's how then, so that it's a, like I said, it's a collaborative thing. So we have to capitalize on the entire ecosystem, assist them in developing. So that's how we're looking at. And like I said, the problem statements, next version again, we're going to be coming out with. We're also working on something related, which will be a little more confidential. The problem statements are more, and they're open, they're in the open domain, but on certain confidential aspects also, and with certain, so that kind of those agencies only.
That's very good to know, and I think on that note, it is very clear that the Indian defense sector has traveled quite far from what it was, say, 10 years ago or 12 years ago. But from listening to all of you, it tells me that it is now ready for a leapfrog going forward, provided all the policies and everything comes together. And there are opportunities for smaller players who are coming, new players in the defense sector, as all of them have alluded to, the military officials, as well as somebody like Ashok Atluri, who's also struggled for 30 years and has come here. There are other success stories which you will hear in the subsequent sessions going forward. We have, the ammunition roadmap. There is also making in India for the world. And as we go forward, a lot of discussions on that. So do listen, take away, interact, observe. But I must thank, and end this session on this note. I don't want to stand between lunch and all of you. And then we come back, hopefully re-energized. So a round of applause for my co-panelists here.
Thank you very much. May I please request Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan to please come up on stage. And I request Nitin to please present mementos to all our speakers and panelists. So just another 30 seconds and then we break for lunch. A memento to Vice Admiral Sanjay Vatsayan, a memento to Air Vice Marshal George Thomas, to Mr. Ashok Atluri of Zen Technologies, General C.S. Maan, ADG, Army Design Bureau, Indian Army. Can I have a group photograph very quickly? And a round of applause from all of you for this session, Future Roadmap in Atmanirbharta in Defense. All those of you who are facing the stage, on your right, you will proceed out and then again take a right. There is lunch arrangement over there. I request all of you to have your lunch and please come back at 1400 hours, 2 p.m. for the next sessions. Thank you so much.